Today, we're going to talk about relationships and relationship burnout. Obviously, we're going to talk about relationship burnout, but I also want to tell you how I have changed my mindset around relationships. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to talk about how I've shifted my mindsets, and that has made my all existing relationships much, much, much better. You can actually change this thought pattern and get out of the relationship burnout and really strengthen your relationships in general. Before we get into it, really quickly, let's do some housekeeping. Hi, my name is Arpit. Welcome to my side of the internet. On this channel, I make videos about my life in Boston from a very realistic point of view, and I share a lot what's going on in my life so you guys can be with me on this adventure, and more importantly than that, sort of feel not alone, feel that there are other people like you out there who are doing stuff similar to you. So that's basically the purpose of this channel, to get us more connected. So today I wanted to talk about relationship burnout. What I mean by a relationship in this sense is not necessarily a romantic partner. A relationship could be anything for that matter. It could be a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be a parent, it could be a family member, whatever you want to name it. A relationship is a relationship. So don't think of it as like we're only talking about romantic partners here, because that's not the case. We know that most humans, for that part, want two main things from their life. I think a lot of people want a successful career, and B, they want like an amazing relationship. And I do feel there's a lot of analogies between a career and relationships for that matter. I think a lot of our energy goes into one or the other, or like it's separated between the two, 50% to career, 50% to relationship. So for a lot of us, the energy divided between them is very parallel, or it's like about 50-50. But the real analogy I wanted to point out was the fact that the same way people can burn out at work by giving themselves too much to work, taking too much of work responsibilities, spending too much time at work, the same burnout can manifest in a relationship. That is called relationship burnout. And I haven't seen many people talk about it. In relationships, I've felt, or at least my relationships, how relationship burnout really manifests or has manifested is spending too much time taking care of your partner, giving in too much thought to what their problems are, devoting a lot of time to really remove problems from their life, and like spending too much time worrying about their problems and what they need in a relationship, taking on their anxiety and their energies and kind of surrounding them yourself with a lot of like their problems or their anxieties and kind of like absorbing them. If a lot of these energies I feel like manifest for a while in a relationship, that is when relationship burnout really occurs. And a lot of time what I've felt in my life is that whenever I'm feeling negative about something for a while, or whenever I'm giving too much of my time to one thing, it naturally, for me and for a lot of us for that matter, leads to what? Resentments. And I think resentment, in my experience, is such a slippery slope. When you start resenting something, it is hard mentally to get out of that resentment rut. I call it the resentment rut, because a lot of times those things build up. You don't really want to communicate, or that has been my pattern. Like once I start feeling resentments, I just like go in my shell. I already in relationship and even in workplaces used to come from that point of view of like I shouldn't voice my opinion too much, or if I'm feeling some sort of way, I should keep it on the low because I don't want to start any issues. And the reason why I have been able to do that for so long in relationships and in other places is because my relationship with myself ironically has been the most muted. I am a certified expert in ignoring my gut. I am a certified expert at not really thinking about sitting down with my feelings and really writing them down and like really figuring out why I'm feeling one kind of way and like what makes me feel one kind of way or the other. I have suppressed my voice in this life for so long. Sometimes it's so muted, or it has felt in the past that it's barely a whisper, that I really don't have anybody, not even myself, to like check in with and see why I'm feeling one sort of way. And to me, because I have a block in doing that, a lot of times what happens if I'm feeling frustrated in a relationship or at work, what that manifests as is just resentments. I just can't really figure out how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling, and I just start resenting people around me, people at work, or people I'm in a relationship with. A lot of this sort of not being able to listen to myself has also been compounded by sort of generational things in me. I feel like in my culture, there is a big thing of like sacrifice. You sacrifice for the people you love, which is absolutely true. And like growing up, hearing people say stuff like, I have sacrificed so much for you, and like, I made so many sacrifices for you. In my case now, it's almost like if you love somebody, you sacrifice for them. So not being able to really fully listen to yourself, and then coming from this point of view of like you are meant to sacrifice for people you love, it just compounds a lot of my relationship issues. And this constant giving in a relationship leads me down the road of burnout and eventually down the road of resentments. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm not saying you shouldn't sacrifice for the people you love. You absolutely should. But it does become detrimental to you and the relationship if you are not checking in with yourself and you're not listening to yourself of how much you're giving to the other person, what do you need in return. Those sort of things I am really bad at, and that's why I feel like relationship burnout occurs to me all the time in different relationships, whether it be at work, partner relationships, friends, like family relationships. And my natural instinct after I start feeling burnout is to retrieve, is to not open up, is to sort of feel burnout and withdraw, and then start feeling resentful eventually. And this is just such a bad pattern. So if you can identify some of these patterns in yourself, because I hope I'm not the only one out there dealing with thoughts like this. So if you out there can also identify these similar patterns in yourself, this is why I wanted to make this video, to like basically tell you that you're not alone, and we can work on some of those things. We can overcome some of these patterns that we're so used to adhering to. You can break them and you can like really evolve as a person, and it's really powerful. It's really amazing the power you get when you recognize your patterns and you're like, you know what, I actually recognize this, I have done this for a long time, and it's time to sort of try and change that, try to beat this a little bit. So now let's talk about how I've shifted my mindset around relationships. One thing I've really had to taught myself, and none of this is from therapy, I am not currently in therapy right now, but one thing I have learned from my previous therapy sessions and really have taught myself is that real relationships are not transactional. You shouldn't be in a relationship if it feels transactional with a partner. If it's like you give me this, then I give you this, or if you give me this, then only I give you this, that should not be the case. If you have a friend who basically abandons you or doesn't understand if you can't do something, and they really don't want to listen to you, that means the relationship is sort of transactional. An example I would give is that you have a friend who invited you out and it's really chilly outside, and your friend's like,
hey, please, let's just go out. Let's go out. I really want to go out. I really want to get drunk. Like, let's go out.
and you're like, dude, I just like don't feel it today. I just like don't feel it. I want to stay in. That's it. And your friend's like,
Are you sick? Like, why do you want to stay in?
and you're like, I just want to stay in and chill. Like, don't, that's what I want to do, so that's what I'm going to do. But if your friend's like, if you don't go out with me, I mean, this might be an extreme example, but
If you don't go out with me, then like, we can't be friends, or I'm not gonna come to your birthday or something.
you know what I mean? Like if your birthday's coming up, for example, they're like,
Well, I'm not gonna come to your birthday then.
that is sort of not the best friendship to begin with. That is a little transactional. Like if you can't give me this, I can't give you this. And in my experience, I just always perceived relationships as transactional. Friendships for me are hard. I have always, especially the beginning phases of the friendship, when you're really testing out if you want to be friends with this person and hang out with them, how much of your energy you want to invest in them, you're testing a lot of these things out in the early phases of the friendship. And I feel like that time it's okay to like feel it a little transactional in the sense that you're testing the waters. But in sort of the later stages or mid stages of the friendship, you should be able to shrug some of this transactional nature off. You should be able to be more of yourself, and your friend should be able to be more of themselves as well. But if that transactional sort of feeling never goes away, whether it be a friendship, a partnership, a work colleague, then you know that there is something wrong. Because people who want to be in your life for the long term wouldn't operate in that transactional way. But people who are there for short term and short term gains and don't really actually care about you, they usually operate with this transactional POV. They're like, do this for me and maybe I'll do this for you. So you need to know that real relationships are not transactional at all. The second thing I do now is really be mindful and take time to reflect on how I'm feeling. I sit down with my feelings After having avoided them for so long and it not being working the best for me, now I sit down with them and ask myself why I'm feeling this way. If I am feeling some type of way about a person, a situation, I really kind of now dig deep and I ask myself questions like a friend, not like an enemy. I ask myself questions like, why, Arpit, why is it feeling this way? Is there something they're doing? Is it something you are perceiving? Are you being presumptuous? Is there some miscommunication? Things like that. I really now take time to sit down and analyze the situation from a POV that's beneficial to me and not really harsh on myself. I don't punish myself for feeling one kind of way. I used to do that. I now basically say, this is a feeling we're feeling and why are we feeling this way? And if there is a real reason, let's identify the freaking reason and then get on with it. Then, like, tackle the reason and not just, wallow in these feelings. The third thing I have realized is that setting up boundaries doesn't mean you're selfish. And this will lead me to my next point right after this, but I want to address this point really briefly. That setting up boundaries is not being selfish. Telling your friend you can't spend the day with them, you can't spend time with them, by staying in and taking time for yourself, you're not being selfish. Telling a partner that there is something wrong that you don't like or something you don't feel comfortable with in a relationship is not being selfish. You're setting a boundary. Telling a parent that you're not okay with, say, them commenting about your body image or commenting about your weight or something like that, that's not being selfish, that's setting a boundary. Telling somebody at work that you're not okay with them coming at you a certain way or addressing you in a way that makes you uncomfortable at work, that's not being selfish, that's a boundary. These are boundaries, and I used to confuse them with being, oh my god, I'm being so selfish, I told them I can't come out tonight, oh my god, I'm taking time for myself, I'm so selfish. Girl, you're not selfish, you just don't feel like doing that, and you're setting up boundaries to protect your energy. That's totally okay in today's world. Totally okay. Many people do that, and you can do that too. I can give you a thing saying you are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed. And for the longest time, I felt like I wasn't allowed. And allowing myself to set up boundaries has been the biggest change in my life. Which brings me to the next point, which is you have to show up for yourself before you show up for others. Now, again, this might sound like the cheesiest motherfucking Pinterest board pin ever, but my therapist used to say this to me in therapy sessions where I was like, I am feeling selfish about certain things, and she's like, why are you feeling selfish? You have to show up for yourself before you show up for others. If you're not showing up for yourself daily, weekly, monthly, you're gonna end up resenting people you're showing up for constantly, because you will feel like they're draining your energy. You have to fill your own cup and then provide water to others. You have to put on your air mask and then make sure others have theirs on. There is no fault for showing up for yourself. There is no fault for taking time for yourself and setting boundaries in a way that actually, in retrospect, gives you more strength and makes you more prepared to show up for others. Like, it just makes you more prepared, not less. One of the last things I realized too, and this is again came from therapy, is that most relationships, whether you like it or not, will never be equal. There is never a such thing as 50% relationship. For example, when you were born, your parents were cleaning your diapers, they were cleaning your shit. Girl, that relationship was like 90% them, 10% you, right? And as seasons change, you get older and they need more help from you, the relationship's dynamic will shift, right? You are now supposed to be more of the 90%, more of the 80% person in their life. They will be there, but you are supposed to help them, and not like help them and like give them money, but you're supposed to be there for them. The relationships change in that sense. They're never really 50-50. In a partner loving relationship too, the relationship would hardly be ever always 50-50. It will hardly ever be like you're doing exactly 50% and they're doing exactly 50%. Maybe they're struggling with something and you have to help them with depression, anxiety for a long period of time. But the real kicker is, do you know if it would happen to you if the roles were reversed? If you need 70-80% of them for a prolonged period of time, are they going to be there for you? Will they fill your cup like that? Will they chronically fill your cup like that, like how you have been for them? So that is the important question thing to understand, that although relationships are never equal in reality, never perpetually 50-50, you have to understand that the give or take, the balance should be able to shift to you when you need that. If you're not sure about that, then again, in friendships, at work relationships, in romantic relationships, with family, this is not okay. You need to identify why you feel like that, why you feel like they won't help you. Ask them questions, and then sort of you can avoid this relationship burnout by giving too much of yourself to them constantly. So these were sort of some of the things that I have realized recently that have really helped me reframe a lot of my relationships with family, at work, with friends. And although I'm not in like a real long-term relationship right now, I don't feel like I have the need to be in one anyways. The relationship I'm really working on right now is building a better one with myself, understanding my thoughts and patterns, and sort of also putting it out there so that if other people find this video, even a single person finds this video, they can relate to it and they can identify some of the similar patterns. Because I am pretty fucking crazy in here, but I know I can't be alone with this relationship burnout shit. I know you all have felt it too and you don't say nothing. So after you watch this video, really analyze your patterns and get better at identifying your triggers and things that make you resentful. Then manage them in a way that doesn't lead to like long-term problems in your life and your relationships, and actually ends up strengthening your relationship. So this was a video podcast kind of thing that I've never done before, but I had so much fun doing it, minus the trucks beeping outside, the radiator whistling and shit. I had so much fun talking to you guys. I hope this helps anyone who's watching, and I want to make more videos like this, sort of giving you things from like my mindfulness and things that I've learned that have really helped me recently. Let me know if you like this kind of content, and I'm sure to make videos like this in the future. But before you go, please subscribe if you like this video. Please like, please share with people who you think are going through a relationship burnout, a weird relationship period. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.